Mel Gibson finally said what many have been afraid to say. And once you start connecting the dots, everything begins to make sense. The shocking reason Mel Gibson was allegedly pushed out of Hollywood and the role Oprah is rumored to have played behind the scenes is truly unbelievable. In this video, we break down Mel's explosive claims about Hollywood's inner circle and expose what is said to really happen when the cameras stop rolling.
It feels good. I mean, if you're 7 years old and somebody, which I was trying to say this to my friends who had children, you're 7 years old and someone is stroking your penis, it feels good. Right. Even though you don't have a name for what that is, it feels good. And when I first said this years ago, people were like, you're crazy, because everybody wants to believe it's like sexual assault and you're being thrown up against the wall and you're being raped. And I have said for years, if the abuser is any good.
Mel Gibson has been questioning Hollywood long before most people were ready to pay attention. Even back in the 90s, when the industry felt untouchable, Mel was already raising concerns. In some of his earliest post-Hollywood interviews, he suggested that what unsettled him most wasn't the fame or pressure, but what he saw happening behind closed doors. He spoke about witnessing powerful executives manipulate young performers and how disturbing that reality was for him. Mel also claimed that some parents sensed something was wrong yet chose to ignore it, putting success and money ahead of their children's voices. Those early moments, he implied, were what truly opened his eyes to how the industry operates.
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid.
Once Mel began speaking more openly, and even pointing fingers at certain directors the industry turned on him fast. Unlike many others, Mel refused to stay quiet about what he felt was wrong. At the height of his career, he was one of Hollywood's biggest and most powerful stars. But the moment he spoke out, everything changed. Almost overnight, allegations began surfacing with his name at the center. It leads to a serious question. Is it really just a coincidence that people who challenge Hollywood's power structure so often end up facing lawsuits and scandals at the same time?
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness.
I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time. And you think, it does rip your life to pieces.
Does it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls. It's these little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head with a battering ram trying to like beat your walls in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior that this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are, when you come in off the farm with those convictions and a certain line of attack, no matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place. No, it's going to divert you from where you were going.
Sure.
You're going to be diverted. You'll eat yourself alive here. And I think it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town. I mean, this is a bizarre place. The social contract. You can't get mad. You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken, that you are going to be over at some point.
I mean, as a matter of interest, do you think it's easier because you're an outsider who came in?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it was glaring to me because I was an outsider.
One of the most disturbing crises in the world today is human trafficking, especially when children are involved. And the first step towards stopping it is awareness. Mel has said that early in his career, he had moments where he sensed something was deeply wrong inside the industry, things he couldn't fully put into words at the time. Years later, he came to believe those feelings weren't paranoia, but warnings. Realizing that some of your darkest suspicions might actually be true can be devastating. And if you let that realization consume you, it can destroy your life. Mel has described Hollywood as a place where certain attitudes and behaviors are constant and impossible to escape. No matter how strong your morals are when you arrive, this environment has a way of slowly breaking people down and pulling them off track. According to him, surviving in this town requires an extraordinary level of mental toughness. It's a strange world ruled by unspoken rules, where anger is frowned upon and silence is often rewarded. Many people enter believing they'll remain untouched, only to discover later that everyone pays a price in one way or another. Mel has also said that coming into Hollywood as an outsider made these contradictions easier for him to notice. And one detail that continues to spark curiosity is this. Despite being one of the biggest stars on the planet, Mel never appeared on Oprah's show. Multiple producers have claimed he was invited several times and declined every single invitation, while most celebrities eagerly accepted. Years later, Oprah's name returned to headlines following widely reported incidents connected to the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. In 2007 and again in 2009, allegations were made against staff members, leading to official investigations. Several employees were terminated or faced legal consequences. While these cases received heavy media coverage at the time, it's also important to note that other claims and online rumors that have circulated since then have not been backed by verified evidence.
Trial of a former dormitory matron charged with abusing 6 students at Oprah Winfrey School for Girls in South Africa is resuming. Prosecutors say former dorm matron Tina Virginia Makopo tried to kiss and fondle the girls. She's also accused of kicking and hitting some of them. Makopo pleaded innocent to 14 charges of indecent assault, and criminal injury in South Africa. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the ex-headmistress of the $40 million school is suing Winfrey for defamation. The suit claims someone would conclude from Winfrey's comments that the school employee knew of the alleged abuse and was actively involved in covering it up.
I was, needless to say, devastated and really shaken to my core.
Winfrey said she was disappointed in the former headmistress. The TV talk show host also made comments about students who felt there was an atmosphere of repression at the school.
And I spoke to all the girls personally, and I encouraged all of them, any of them who had actually been harmed, to please come forward.
Suddenly, Mel Gibson's apparent mistrust of Oprah began to make more sense to some observers. Over the years, Oprah had professional ties to several controversial figures, including Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and R. Kelly, and to critics, that didn't feel accidental. At a certain point, they argued, it started to look less like coincidence and more like a pattern of being in close circles with powerful men who were later exposed. Singer Seal added fuel to that conversation. Despite once having a friendly relationship with Oprah, he publicly called her out in 2017. Just days after Oprah voiced support for survivors following the allegations against Harvey Weinstein, Seal shared a meme on Instagram showing Oprah greeting Weinstein. The caption suggested that while she was now being praised as part of the solution, she had been close to the problem for years. Seal implied that rumors about Weinstein had existed long before the scandal broke, and questioned how influential figures could claim they knew nothing. The post triggered immediate backlash. Oprah did not respond publicly, and at the time Weinstein continued to deny wrongdoing. Many fans came to Oprah's defense, pointing out that she herself is a survivor of sexual abuse and sharing photos of other celebrities, including Seal's ex-wife Heidi Klum pictured with Weinstein. Supporters argued that appearing alongside powerful producers was common in Hollywood and did not automatically mean someone was aware of misconduct. Still, critics maintained that Weinstein's behavior was widely whispered about in the industry long before his arrest. They questioned why influential media figures continued to give him visibility and legitimacy, and why so few people spoke up earlier. When Weinstein was eventually arrested, some felt the public distancing came too late, further fueling the ongoing debate about silence, power, and accountability in Hollywood.
about what's happening with Harvey Weinstein. I know you posted on Facebook already, but you haven't kind of spoken yet publicly about what's going on.
I think that this is, I'm always trying to look for the rainbow in the cloud, whatever is the silver lining. And this is what I do know for sure. When something this major happens, when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed moment. And what I do believe is actually happening is that, first of all, it's triggering a lot of unreleased pain, repressed anger, guilt, and suffering that a lot of women have had. I happened to be on set with several actresses the other day, and we were filming some things, and they hadn't slept over a period of 2 or 3 days. And I was like, what is that? I said, oh, you guys are suffering from PTSD.
And when you start talking about it out loud too,
everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And so I think this is a watershed moment. We will have lost this moment. I think this is a moment where no matter what business you work in, there have been women who not only had the disease to please, that's a part of it, but who felt that in order to keep my job, in order to keep my position, in order to keep moving forward, I've got to smile, I've got to look the other way, I got to pretend he didn't say that, I got to pretend he didn't touch me. I think those days are about to be over.
Are over. And if it happens to you back in the day, you would say, sometimes you're not even aware what he just said wasn't really inappropriate.
I know you've had a couple moments.
Where you just think, what did he just say?
Yes, I remember Gail had a moment when she came and said to me what somebody said to her was so inappropriate. I was like, oh my God, you can sue over that. But
no, and all I said was, what did you say? And then they repeated it.
Yes. Terrible.
I just sat there typing with my 20-something-year-old.
You pretend you didn't hear it.
Yes.
You pretend it's okay. You pretend you didn't.
No, it isn't. You're right, Jeff. You're absolutely right.
But a lot of women have been silenced, and I know.
But I do think it's going to change.
Being a victim of child sexual abuse, that when you feel like you cannot be heard, and then other people start speaking out, it makes you feel like, oh, now I can speak out too.
Yeah. So, and you've been speaking about it for
years.
Now, critics began asking another question. Who else had Oprah been connected to? This time, the name that surfaced was Diddy. For some observers, it felt unsettling that each time a major figure became controversial, Oprah's name seemed to appear somewhere in the same social circle. That perception only intensified speculation online. Adding to the controversy, Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, made public statements claiming that Oprah had been present at certain private events hosted by Diddy. His remarks circulated widely across social media and podcasts, though it's important to note these remain allegations and have not been independently verified.
Because you know he was running with Oprah and them. He was running with that whole crew. Weinstein, Oprah, Epstein. He was running with that whole crew. They want to know how we're going to do it, how the public is going to take him. Is the public going to let him back in? And the public is not. The public is already canceling him. I don't believe the industry has canceled him yet. All those people who went to those Diddy parties, not one of them had came out and denounced what he has done. I haven't heard one of them. I have not heard one person denounce, well, man, let God handle it. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here with that. If that was your daughter, would you let God handle it? All those people, they ain't denounced him. They ain't definitely, they can't come forward and say, yo, I support him. Because it would mess up their brand. It would mess up their brand. Jay-Z. We the only one could call each other Sean. Jay is the only one could call me Sean. I'm the only one could call him Sean. Get the hell out of here. If that ain't no fun boy stuff. But you ain't had not one person, brother, not one person sit there, denounce what he did, or come forward and say, I support him.
People in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like kids, basically.
The nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood. And you're like, come on. You see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these, you're like, what the?
If someone's like a pedophile, they're going to go for a target-rich environment.
Like that Jimmy Savile guy from the UK.
Man, that guy was some next level. That was next level. That guy was one of the worst, like basically child rape of all time.
And looked like one.
He looked like one.
Looked the creepiest
like
looking guy.
Evil child rapist. That 100%.
He made it to the grave. Like,
yes.
And here's the reality: this conversation isn't new. Hollywood has faced serious accusations for decades involving the exploitation of minors, and Mel Gibson has been openly talking for years about what he sees as deep-rooted problems within the industry. More recently, the topic surged back into the spotlight with Sound of Freedom, a film centered on child trafficking that sparked intense debate and controversy. The movie forced uncomfortable conversations, showing how exploitation can occur in plain sight and raising troubling questions about the systems and sometimes the adults that fail to protect vulnerable children.
From the beginning, you're going to feel the pain of the father taking his kids, who is approached by a recruiter saying, your kids can be models, they can be in movies. Father dresses in a suit, takes them to this room, and he takes the kids there. They're excited, put the kids in the room, and the girl says, come back to pick them up at 7 o'clock. He says, what do you mean? Come back to pick them up at 7 o'clock. He leaves, comes back 7 o'clock, no one's there.
Shut down.
That's how the movie starts. It's disturbing, it's emotional, it's tough, it's painful. At the end, Jim Caviezel gives a message. When the movie ends, 3 minutes later, he's given a message, profound message that you have to watch. The stats that they gave, that 20 plus million child pornography pictures were uploaded on the internet the last year, a 5,000% increase.
According to critics of the industry, as long as money keeps pouring through Hollywood, too many people stop asking difficult questions about what children might be enduring. They argue that silence is often rewarded, sometimes with massive paychecks and powerful opportunities that keep people in line. The claim is that influence is built through enormous offers, and once someone accepts, they're no longer truly free. Some observers extend this thinking to Hollywood's most powerful figures, questioning how extreme wealth and influence are gained and preserved. This perspective often comes up in discussions about Oprah and Diddy. Supporters of this theory also point to an old story involving Dave Chappelle. Years ago, Oprah reportedly urged him to accept a $50 million deal, but Dave walked away, later saying the offer didn't sit right with him. After he declined, Oprah publicly joked about his decision. At the time, many people didn't understand why Dave would turn down that kind of money, but in hindsight, some believe his choice was about protecting his independence rather than chasing fame or fortune.
Comedian Dave Chappelle left tens of millions of dollars on the table when he walked away from his popular Comedy Central show. A lot of people wondered, what the hell was he thinking? And that's a quote. Chappelle says he had...
Whether he was thinking.
Or whether he was thinking. A lot of people ask that question. Chappelle says he had a crisis of conscience and stood up for his integrity as an artist. He explained to us how stepping out of the spotlight helped him avoid getting caught in a trap.
It's so much bigger than money, though, Dave. It's so much bigger than money.
Oh, no, it was bigger than money. But you know what? I watched one of these nature shows one time, and they were talking about how a bushman finds water when it's scarce.
Uh-huh.
And they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently, baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole, and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt. Salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. The bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the salt.
Isn't that a great analogy?
What an analogy.
I know. He's very, very thoughtful and very...
It wasn't until survivors finally found the courage to speak out that the true scope of the problem began to come into focus.
Over to the house of where these perpetrators in this ring kind of basically started. They pull me away for their threat sessions and tell me they have gaydar, they have this. At the end of the day, if you don't keep the members of this group happy, we control Hollywood. We can eliminate you. We will eliminate you. Threat after threat after threat. At the house, it was, I've had drugs put in drinks. I had liquor poured down my throat. from being where there were rules in the house of no swimsuits, no clothes out by the pool area. I was numerous times in that house by numerous individuals, various types of abuse, all throughout that house. It was just something you were like a piece of meat to these people, and they'd pass you around between them. It was, if I could define what that house was, it's
All of this came to light after Mel was blacklisted in the scandals surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and R. Kelly started dominating headlines.
The idea that there are sexual predators in power, not just in Hollywood, I think all across any place there's a boss with underlings in any corporation or any industry, you have a type of sexual politics that goes on that can slide in between appropriate ethics and decorum to, inappropriate behavior to the point of harassment and predatory behavior.
Well, I mean, I think people understand that, but the larger question is there a culture of complicity in Hollywood where women are afraid to speak up because they'll be blacklisted, men are afraid to speak up because either they're out of the same fear or they just think, well, this is the way the system works.
I think there are people that say, hey, this is how it works, pure and simple, and this is why I got into it, and this is why I have power. This is how it works, and you have to understand that. That does not carry the day. Complicity is also complicity. The people who know, well, look, this is how we do business, and that's what it's got to be done. I'm sorry it's like that. So beware. That's also present, without a doubt, but it does not carry the day. There's also people that were afraid to speak out, who were victims, that did not go forward, that signed, negotiated.
Former child star Elijah Wood says Hollywood has a seedy underbelly of child sex abuse and that those responsible are being protected by the entertainment industry elite. Wood, who's been acting since he was 8, told the Sunday Times there are a lot of vipers in this industry, people who only have their own interests in mind. Wood compared the unnamed abusers to the British DJ Jimmy Savile, who faced dozens of accusations of rape and assault spanning more than 4 decades. Those claims were largely swept under the rug until after Savile's death. It's important to note that Wood's claims are unsubstantiated, but other child stars from the same era have made similar accusations in the past. In 2011, Corey Feldman said he and other child stars in the 80s were abused by people with a lot of power in the entertainment industry.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids.
Declining to give specifics, Feldman said a Hollywood executive is directly responsible for the drug and alcohol problems that contributed to the death of his friend and fellow child star Corey Haim. Wood said he was lucky to have a mom who protected him from abuse, but added, "I've been led down dark paths to realize that these things probably are still happening."
Many say the primary reason these actors started speaking out was fear. At the same time, Mel joined forces with Tim Ballard to expose the child trafficking networks reportedly operating within Hollywood.
All from Mel Gibson. He actually did the final edit of The Sound of Freedom. That's how we know each other, but not well enough that I'd be getting phone calls. And he told me that he was in Budapest at the time. This was right hours after the invasion. And he said he supports a bunch of orphans in Ukraine and he was worried about them. And he asked if I could help get them out. So now I've got 12 from my wife. I got 13 others from Mel Gibson. And I'm thinking, okay, I got this list of kids I got to get out. I told Mel, I said, you got to help me. This is going to be expensive. I won't ask you for direct donation, but can you help me film this? Let's film what's happening so we can get people to understand and they can support us. He said, no problem. He helped us get set up and started filming. 4 months later, what I thought was going to be maybe a documentary about Ukraine ends up being a 4-part docuseries that's almost done. It's being produced by DNA Films and executive produced by Tony Robbins. That's how crazy it got and how prophetic my wife was. When I showed up in Ukraine with a list of, I think, 20 names, the Ukrainians countered me and gave me over 10,000 names of orphans that they didn't know where they were because of the chaos caused by war. And more importantly, and more frightening to me, was the fact that I know that human trafficking is a $32 billion a year business. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. And I also know how kids get forced into that market. And it's through vulnerable situations like in the aftermath of a hurricane, mostly in a developed country, or an earthquake, or in this case, a war. And so the traffickers call it harvest time. And that was the intel we were getting. And so we weren't just there to extract those kids, but look for leads. And it really was a miracle what happened. It's one of these things that, faith precedes the miracle. I take a lot of comfort in the fact that there's only one time in the scripture where Jesus gets mafioso. It's righteous because it's Jesus doing it. But if you listen to his words, it's mafioso. He says that it would be better for you to have a millstone cast about your neck and you thrown to the bottom of the sea than that you would hurt one of these little ones, my children. That's mafioso action, sinking someone to the bottom of the ocean. And Jesus said it. So I know where he stands on it. So I can expect, and we can expect, miracles when we're fighting to protect children.
Mel explained that Hollywood doesn't support films tackling these issues. Instead, the industry prefers people to look the other way and simply keep moving forward.
Yeah. It seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Oh yeah, no, there was,
which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie. Like people didn't like that you were making it. It seemed like
there was a lot of opposition to it, and I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're gonna get people going, because
of course
it's big subject matter, and it's like. And my contention is, when I was making it, it was like, you're making this film, and the idea was that we're all responsible for this, that his sacrifice was for all mankind, and that for all our ills and all the things in our fallen nature, it was a redemption. So, and I believe that, I actually am. I was born into a Catholic family. I'm very Christian in my beliefs, So I do actually believe this stuff to the full. So depicting that was an honor, but it was also, you got.
In an interview, Mel Gibson noted that Hollywood's sudden self-reflection came long after the fact. He claimed the industry only started addressing misconduct when it could no longer be concealed. For decades, allegations were ignored, quietly settled, or brushed aside, as long as the money kept flowing. But once lawsuits, arrests, and public outrage threatened the system, Hollywood suddenly acted as if it genuinely cared.
I think it is moving forward. I think that light has definitely been shone into the dark regions, and it's painful, but it's a necessary thing for change. So there you go.
Do you agree, John?
Yeah, you can't help. It's an incredibly difficult thing to talk about in the context of a comedy interview.
Yeah.
Because there's very little that's comic about it.
Yeah.
You're seeing lives destroyed, but you're also seeing lives that have been deeply troubled for years, and it's
kind of a tragic healing process.
It's a big upheaval. I mean, I've never seen Hollywood quite so shaken by anything.
It's a little late.
So we'll see how it all shakes down. Hopefully it clears the air a little bit.
Well, I think everyone's hopeful that this is like a real turning point, and that people are learning from this. People, it's, the only silver lining in all of this is that it feels like victims of this abuse are feeling safe enough and bold enough to come forward and tell their stories, and we need to continue to have more of that and eliminate it altogether.
Do you agree?
Mel Gibson wasn't just calling out abuse. He was exposing why Hollywood reacts so fiercely whenever faith, morality, or accountability enters the conversation. According to him, the industry doesn't just tolerate corruption. It actively resists anything that threatens its power structure, especially Christianity. That's why films like The Passion of the Christ faced intense backlash even before hitting theaters. Those who stayed silent were rewarded, while those who spoke out faced relentless pushback. Now, Hollywood is under pressure because the curtain is finally being lifted. As more victims come forward and insiders break their silence, one thing is clear. This wasn't random, and it wasn't accidental. It was organized, protected, and profitable.